So I'm joined now by Michael de Crespigny of the ISF, CEO. So firstly, Michael, there's been quite a lot of talk over the conference about the shortfall of information security professionals coming into the industry. Do you have any comment on that?
Yes, there's clearly a very low level of unemployment amongst people that have good information security qualifications. I think there's a bit of a catch-up required for individuals thinking of entering this as a career option to undertake a lot of training that exists at the moment, whether it's through good academic institutions like Royal Holloway or organisations like IC². But we see there's a much bigger issue at the CISO level, where CISOs in the past who have traditionally come up through very often technical streams are having much greater difficulty communicating with senior management. And given the sort of tipping point that organisations have gone through in the use of the internet, they need to be able to communicate with people who understand security and can discuss it from a business perspective. And that's where we think the biggest challenge exists, to bring people who have that business experience and understanding and then supplement that with security, so that in fact security is more of a business issue than a technical one.
So are we talking about vocabulary here, vocabulary and technical understanding that may be causing the gap?
No, I think it's much more about understanding how business is done, what makes organisations successful. You look at the rapid growth in the adoption of the internet and how business is undertaken, and over a third of the UK's GDP is now done online, whether it's the new online channels for shopping that you and I would be using, or whether it's the way business-to-business transactions are affected. And the role of security is very much to understand now and be able to have conversations at the CEO, COO level about how to assess risk, how to understand where risks may emerge because of the way that business is using technology. So it's not about vocabulary, it's actually about understanding risk and what makes a business successful.
So how can information security professionals convey to the board of directors, for example, what it is that needs to be done on an information security level?
Well, particularly understanding the organisation's strategy and what its key success factors might be, and thinking about their dependence on the protection of information and how that information is stored and moved about is a key issue. There are some technical issues in there, but they're largely solved, and this event is full of organisations that can provide the solutions to that. What's more difficult is understanding where the risks lie and where focus should be directed, because you can't apply all the solutions available to all of the organisation's activities. You need to focus on the risks, and that, as I said, depends on what's the organisation doing to succeed, how is it changing, how is it interacting with its suppliers and its customers, and what information-related risks emerge from that. And that then opens the door for a CISO or a Chief Security Officer to be able to talk to the COO or the board about why they need to undertake certain initiatives to protect the organisation. It's a business issue.
So what does it take to make an excellent information security professional in 2012?
At that CISO level, it's a balance between understanding the technical issues, which are quite well documented, and most of the technical solutions exist. But then thinking about how they should be applied and where they should be applied to support the business. If you look at things like Verizon's most recent report, they said 97% of incidents that they investigated could have been solved by fairly simple sorts of technical solutions. Similarly, the Australian Defence Signals Directorate has a really interesting one-page list of 37 technical things organisations can do. If they did the first 4, they would resolve or would have avoided 85% of all the attacks that occurred in 2010. So the technical issue is very much about understanding where are the risks and how do we deploy the technology to solve the problem. And that really requires a bit of an understanding of the business and how it's being undertaken. Why is that particular business or that sort of information more important than other things? And I think it's also reflected quite nicely in the mobile devices issue at the moment. That an organisation can secure every one of its mobile devices today just by buying one of the vendor's products at this event and deploying it to all of the mobile devices that might be used. But there's the question then of, well, why do you need it? What information do you need access to? How sensitive is it? how well does it need to be protected? So you don't want to give everybody access to everything. You want to make sure that individuals have access to information that they need, and some information is more valuable than others. So there's a lot of risk assessment required, and that really depends on a business perspective, not a technical one, to make those decisions.
So finally, what is on the ISF agenda this year?
There are three big issues for us. One is around cybersecurity and very much facilitating our members to collaborate on how they're tackling the issue, particularly how they're going about building greater levels of resilience. Cybersecurity is about keeping the business going. It's not about protecting personal information, that's part of it, but it's much more an issue about supporting the business. The second one relates very much to securing the supply chain. And everybody has numerous third parties that they're dealing with. Indeed, some customers have access to information that you want to make sure is protected as well. And the danger today is that organisations have so many suppliers, they can't decide which ones to protect or to focus on, and which ones are less important. So assessing risk in the supply chain is fundamental. Your middle market suppliers are much easier targets for people trying to access your intellectual property, your commercial information, than indeed many of the larger organisations who own that information would be. And the third dimension really relates to the whole consumerisation issue, bring your own device, whatever you might call it, and how we can help our members go about assessing risk and deciding what's acceptable and what's not. A lot of the groundwork's been done with the technical solution and things like agreements with individuals, but actually making sure that only the people that really need access to certain information are given that, and that they understand what the risks are themselves, as well as the organisation managing that, is pretty fundamental.
Thank you for your time, Michael. Thank you.